Resource planning. In India, there are regions which can be considered self sufficient in terms of availability of resources, and there are regions which have acute shortage of some vital resources. We can see the example of Rajasthan. The state of Rajasthan is very well endowed with solar and wind energy but lacks in water resource. This calls for a balanced resource planning in the national, state, and local level because it is necessary to avoid the imbalances in resources across the country. So we move with another one, that is resource planning in India. Resource planning is a complex process which involves first one identification and inventory of resources across the region of country. This involves surveying, mapping, and qualitative and quantitative estimation and measurement of the resources. The second one, that is evolving a planning structure endowed with appropriate technology, skill, and institutional setup for implementing resource development plans. For the implementation of resource development plans need a planning structure which is endowed with appropriate technology, skill, and institutional setup. Third one is matching the resource development plans with the overall national development plans. The nation has made the efforts towards achieving the goals of resource planning right from the first 5-year plan launched after independence. The development of any region is based on the availability of resource, technology, and institutions. Resources can contribute to development only when they are accompanied by appropriate technological development and institutional changes. India has experienced all this in different phases of colonization. The history of colonization reveals that the rich resources in colonies were the main attractions for the foreign invaders. It was primarily the higher level of technological development of the colonizing countries that helped them to exploit resources of other regions and establish their supremacy over the colonies. Therefore, resources can contribute to the tech development only when they are accompanied by appropriate technological development and institutional changes. So India also experienced the same during the time of during the phases of colonization. So the conservation of resources, irrational consumption and overutilization of resources may lead to socio-economic and environmental problems. To overcome these problems, resource conservation is important. Gandhi said, there is enough for everybody's need and not for everybody's greed. So the conservation of resources are important. So at the international level, the Club of Rome advocated resource conservation in more systematic way in 1968. The Schumacher presented the Gandhian philosophy in his book Small is Beautiful in 1974. The resource conservation at global level was introduced by Brundtland Commission report in 1987. This report introduced the concept sustainable development and advocated the means for resource conservation. It published a book titled Our Common Future. Another significant contribution was made at the Earth Summit at Rio de Janeiro, Brazil in 1992. This all we discussed with in connection with the conservation of resources.